Oh, matter of fact. What's up, Mike? What's up, Hunter? Thomas, what's up? Mama Dunzy, what's up? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm gonna sit down in just a minute. What's up, YouTube? We live on YouTube as well. Mike, what's up, bro? All right, this is, there we go. All right, bingo. Britt, what's up? There it is. All right, finally I can sit down, man. I feel like I was sitting up forever. What's up, YouTube? What's good? What's up, IG and YouTube? Hey, 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 hey. All right, look, if you guys are in this chat, man, I don't care if you've missed every other chat before. I pray that you guys stick around for this one. Before I dive in, let me set this one up on YouTube. IG, we good to go, but let me just get YouTube together. Bingo. Okay, cool. All right, man. So let's start this off right, because this is tough. This is a heavy conversation. Soldiers, I pray that you guys, you stay in here the whole live. But this goal is not for me to voice what I want to say. I want to speak on God's merit. I want him to speak through me. So with that, I want to open this up in prayer. How about that? God, thank you so much for your grace and your mercy, God, your patience with this world. God, I pray that, God, as we go throughout this conversation, God, that people don't see me or see my opinion or my perspective, God, but through it all, they see your righteousness. God, and they see a call, God, to look like your son. God, I lay my life down and I look to you. I pray all of these things in your mighty son, Jesus' name. Amen, amen, amen. Yo, I like when I talk to pastors, I'm always promoting music and like different stuff, right, with my partners. And they always say, YB, so what do you want to do? Because they say if everything is important, nothing is important, right? If everything is important, nothing is important. So with that being said, we can talk about looting, we can talk about the fighting, we can talk about CNN, we can talk about all of that, right? And really get lost in why God asked me to do this one cause, right? So therefore, I want to talk about race and injustice and how so many of the people that look like me got here today. That's what I want to dial in on. And please pay attention to the pinned comment. Please use wisdom for commenting. Cool? I get it. Last fall, I was at my wife's shop, and I'm just there hanging out with my wife. And I see this man, this is a true story. I see this man literally like walking around in circles. He's pacing back and forth. You could tell something's wrong. He's a black man, and I'm just watching him, and I'm like, man, what's up with this dude? Well, after that, after watching him for about maybe 10 minutes, I see the guy fall. Like he literally falls in the middle of the parking lot. So I talked to my wife. I'm like, yo, like, babe, like I can't believe this dude just randomly fell. Well, she's at work, you know, she does nails. So I run over there and I run across the street. I run through traffic and I get over there and the guy's like gasping for air. And me, I'm gonna be honest, like that was a scary situation for me because man, I don't want this dude to die on, my time. Like I'm not a paramedic. Like I don't know how to like so I panicked. And the guy is like gasping for air and he was like, yo, I can't breathe. Like I literally can't breathe. And you could tell like either his lungs were like tightening up. I don't know what the case may be. But because I feared that I didn't know exactly what to do, guys, don't judge me, forgive me. I literally ran back to the shop. This left this man gasping for air, but I panicked because I'm like, well, what do I do in this? Like I've never encountered a situation like this. So I actually ran, left the guy sitting in the parking lot. I ran all the way back. I was so afraid to make a mistake in that moment because in my eyes, this guy's life was in my hands, right? I didn't even realize I had my phone in my pocket. I ran all the way back to the shop to call the police. I get over there, I'm shaking. But you guys are saying, okay, YB, that's an interesting story, but what are you saying? And I need you guys all throughout this live to literally evaluate where you are on this scale. There are a lot of us that has experienced a tragedy, like you've walked up on a tragedy. Whether that tragedy may be having tough conversations with your friends or literally examining your own heart, right? And you knowing that you got the power, the solution, a phone to dial out to get help. But because of you're scared and because you don't want to make a mistake and you want to do the right thing in that moment, you actually run away from the most important thing. Yeah, I ran to the shop to get a phone call and to call the police, but I left a man who could barely breathe in the parking lot in the middle of summer. So as I go through this talk, I'm challenging you guys to stay right where the problem is. Yes, there's looting. I do not condone that. If I condone it, I would be doing a live from somewhere downtown, right? Yes, CNN is showing the worst and all these they're showing the worst, of course. But all of those things in a time like this, distraction and the movement of the enemy is at a high. Because if you don't heal the initial wound, the job is done. We've won the battle, right? Cool. So now that we've established that ground, that we're going to look at the initial problem. My 5th grade year, I was born and raised in Arkansas. And if you are from Arkansas, if you have any context to Arkansas, you know that Arkansas is huge for racial tension, right? Well, my 5th grade year, we had just a big fight, literally black, young middle school kids versus white. We don't know why we were fighting. We just know that they didn't look like us and we didn't look like them, right? And we just had a big fight. It was terrible. 5th grade. And for me, I know that that's not my heart. That's my first reaction to tragedies and stuff like that is not to start throwing fights that's just not who I am, right? I remember after I was on my way to my classroom, I told myself, I said, I'm going to have to do a lot of forgiving because if I'm experiencing this in the 5th grade, I'm not going to be able to live my life in peace because I can't control other people, right? I want you guys to pay attention to a word that I'm going to use all throughout this live. In the 5th grade, a young kid, I made an adjustment. I had to make an adjustment. At the end of that fight, we were the problem. When we got to the principal office, we were the problem, right? But in my mind, I said, okay, I'm going to make an adjustment. Going up all throughout middle school, I had to make adjustments. Going up all through high school, I had to make adjustments because when people see me, no matter how many Christian songs I write, no matter how much I pray for y'all, no matter how much I truly do ministry genuinely with integrity, right? There are some people that's going to see me and they're going to see a thug, a gangster, a drug dealer, and let alone I'm tatted, right? Guys, I wish that those things didn't affect the narrative over my life, but they do. Not just the tattoos, but literally starting with this, starting with my skin. When people see me, there's already a book wrote about me in their mind, right? But I had to make adjustments. Now, I'm not saying, my goal is not to say, okay, at the end of this live, you guys go and say, man, YB is right. I'm going to give you my reality, right? And I pray that you wrestle with it. And from that, you get something that pushes you closer to Christ. That's the goal of this live. I don't care for you to log off and say, man, I never knew YB had so much wisdom, or that's not my goal. My goal is I'm going to share this reality. I pray that you wrestle with this reality for my life. And away from that, you walk away understanding what it looks like to follow Jesus a little bit more, right? I made that adjustment. I'm going through this tension, but the reality is for black people, for me, maybe I was wrong, right? But America has a checklist for black people. If this person doesn't go to college, he's going to probably be a thug or on a corner or dangerous. If this person doesn't work a 9 to 5, there's a great chance he just wants to suck up all of the government's money, right? And he just want to have a lot of babies and never be accountable for them. I'm going to be honest. This entire live, I'm going to be honest, right? Because I need you guys to understand this reality. If he doesn't make an honest living, there's a great chance he's stealing or he wants to steal, right? There's a great chance that me being black, you didn't grow up without a father. So you're filled with hate and you're filled with rage. This is America's checklist for a black male. Now, are there black people out there who do not desire to do X, Y, and Z, who do not desire to go to college? I can't speak for those, right? I can only share my experience. So knowing that this checklist exists and me having a mom, I wanna make my mom proud. Me being a person who wants to live above reproach, I see this checklist and I say, okay, I'm going to go to college because I don't want to be a statistic, right? Then when all of my friends are selling drugs and doing these narratives, right? I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do something that's never been done in my family. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to try my best to live above reproach, right? Black men are known for being angry and just rageful, right? That's the narrative. Not saying that that's true, but that's the narrative, right? Well, that's not my approach. And I don't do that to be accepted by America. But again, in the 5th grade, that wasn't me, right? Now, black men are known to, not be married and to have a bunch of women and have a bunch of babies that they don't desire to be accountable for. Okay, I know that I grew up without a father, so why would I go and repeat the same cycle? So I'm going to be, to the best of my ability, committed to one woman, right? And all of the children that we bear, I'm going to be my best to be a dad that's present. I'm going to do my best to be a dad that's loving. I'm going to be my best to be a dad that's patient and that's caring, right? And I'm doing all of these things to avoid America's checklist for this black American male, right? I'm doing all of these things. The incident of George Floyd was a tipping point for me because this is why. The man who's covered in tattoos, who want to smoke weed all day and abuse and whatever the narrative that America has, right? They have specific outcomes for them, whether it's prison, we'll get rid of you, we'll gun you down, whatever the case may be, they have a specific narrative for them. And for me, I'm trying my best to live above reproach, not to be accepted by America, but because I have a mom that I want to make proud. More importantly, I'm called to live according to Jesus Christ, right? And I do all of these things, and I'm still subject to the same outcome as if I was a thug, as if I was a dad who doesn't care. I'm still subject to the same outcome as a drug dealer, to literally be slain in the middle of the street innocently. I don't care what cameras show or didn't show. He didn't deserve to die, right? So when I see these two outcomes and I say, man, he went left and he still was killed. He went right and he still was killed. How do you expect me to respond? I'm scared. Not because I'm afraid of what man can do to me. Right? I'm a Christian. I understand all of the Bible context. I understand all of that. But I am human here on earth. That's why God sent Jesus down here to save it. But when we go through hardship, soon as we start to cry out, God isn't saying, well, wait a minute, why are they angry? Well, wait a minute, why are they afraid? Why are they crying? Why are they fearful? God doesn't say that because he sent his son here to endure the world. So when his people cry out, when they are fearful, when they are afraid, God says, no, I'm with you because I know. I know what the world did to my son, Jesus. I know what this world is capable of, right? So I go through and I experience this, and George Floyd was the tipping point because, okay, I've tried everything that America said do. I've tried to complete all of these checklists, and still I stand a very high chance of being murdered. And then you probably say, well, YB, you probably overreacting, man. Like, it's just one guy, right? I want to talk to everybody. Was just one guy, and you don't know, maybe he was on drugs, or maybe he did something before they started recording, right? You're probably right. My goal is not to prove that you're wrong. Wherever God is in this situation, that's exactly where I want to be, right? But this is the effect and the damage that is taking place from these certain events that continuously happen, right? This is 4 days ago. I have to run an errand for my wife, right? I had to go into town, and I said, okay, man, coronavirus is happening, so I'm not trying to be out there. I'm finna run this errand, and my goal is to get on back. So I go ahead and put on some clothes, right? And I hit the door, and guys, I kid you not, this is not fabricated, this is not exaggerated. I hit the door, and my daughter runs up behind me, Kylie, 4 years old. She runs up behind me, and she says, Daddy, I want to go with you. Which she normally does, right? As I'm holding the door, before I can even say yes, I thought about the worst case scenario for my life. And I feared just an officer having a bad day, pulling me over, and it escalating to a tragedy. I don't know if you're in here and you're a parent, right? I don't know. But man, I would not want my daughter to be in the back seat watching some people do something to her dad and nobody's there to explain it to her. Nobody's there to fend for her. There's no answers. Literally, that scared the life out of me. And it's not me just living in fear, but there is a reality. There's a narrative, right? So, shaking the fear, I tell my daughter to go put on her shoes. She goes and she puts on her shoes. I get in the car, and as I put my car in park, I literally hit the brakes. Do you know the next thing I did? I checked my phone battery. I didn't check it because I needed the GPS. I didn't check it because I wanted to play music. I checked my phone battery life because if a tragedy was to take place, this is my only insurance. This is my only protection. Now, don't hit me with that Christianese stuff. I know God is sovereign, right? But I have to operate in this world. When I get to heaven, there's no more of this. Then you operate that way, right? But right now, as a father, a black father who wants to make it back home safely, I have to be intentional. I check my battery. Now the deal is, you can say George Floyd and all, you can do that, but you can't deny the rippling effect that it's having on people who look like me. You can't deny that. It's not my goal to have these tough conversations, but here's the deal. I tell my wife this all the time. We would have certain conversations and she said, well, babe, why do we have to live like that? I used to tell her, no, and I still tell her, because my life is not my own. I don't do what everybody else do because my life is not my own. Decisions just don't come and lean on my shoulders. Like, if you know me personally, I truly consider God. This live could go totally different. But before I got on this live, God, what do you want me to say? Now, I don't want to be so heavenly that I'm no good here on earth. If you have black friends, I need you to reach out to them. And don't come to them with the solution. Hey, man, I heard from YB, man, this is what you should do with your life. Please don't do that. But people say, my wife asked me when they started riding, like dangerously, and they started looting. She said, babe, what do you think about this? I said, babe, it's ungodly. I don't condone it, but I understand it. When people feel like they are not heard, they're going to act out. I have a daughter. I know what this looks like. If I'm too busy in the office or I got meetings after meetings and my daughter feel like she can't get my attention, she starts to do the worst. She literally drives and sits on every nerve in my head because no matter what dad is doing, I need him to hear me right now. I don't care what dad is doing. I need him to see me right now. So when I see cities on fire and stores being broken into, though, you know, our voices being heard, I'm not here at home like, man, finally, America. No, that's not Christ-like. I can't watch these videos because I know that's not of God, but I do understand it. And soldiers, as you go out, and I pray you have these conversations, I need y'all to remember this. Sometimes you being right does way more damage than it does you being helpful. I have conversations with my wife all the time, consulting our marriage, right? But there's times where I would rather not be right and use these. I would rather use these and be wrong and be effective than to use this, don't hear anything, but I'm right. I wish I could tell you that this time has not rocked me physically, emotionally, spiritually. And can I be honest with y'all? I've experienced this my entire life. I had to make adjustments. I went to a concert. I left the concert to go change because I have my performance shoes and then I have my like YB shoes, right? And I'm performing for pretty much like an all-white crowd. I go out, and I kid you not, I wish my intern was here to tell you. I go out and I come through the front of the door. My intern is white. He lets my intern walk straight past. Like, he's a security guard. Doesn't scan him or nothing. And I walk through, he hems me up. And I was like, yo, hey, I'm here for the event. My name is YB, I'm the artist. And he's like, no, I gotta pat you down, I gotta check. And then all of the church staff was like, no, hey, we're paying him to come here and be a part of the night. And he literally looks at them and he literally still holds, like my shirt was gripped. But I made an adjustment. I didn't let that anger me. I couldn't let that get to me because if I was to respond to everything that has happened to me racially, I wouldn't have peace. I would have no time for my kids. I would have no time for my marriage because I would be so angry and so intentional about responding to all of these scenarios, all of these narratives, all of these realities. Now, hear me out. I didn't do this live for a pity party, right? Like, man, I've been at the feet of Jesus. Like, I've been crying, I've been scared, I've been praying, I've been worried, I've been crying, I've been scared, I've been praying, I've been worried. God is sufficient. I'm good. I need y'all to go and genuinely love on the people who look like me. When this stuff first happened, I said, man, God. And matter of fact, let me say this. To be honest, when these situations happened in the past, I said, well, man, this is bad. But I don't want it to get messy. I don't want it to get out of control regarding me. So, God, I'm going to come to you in prayer. I'm going to come to you in private. And then I'm going to pray that this stuff gets over fast. Not that I didn't care about black people, but My whole life, what have I told y'all? I have been making adjustments. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know how to address it. I didn't know how to speak up, right? But God convicted me. And I said, okay, well, I have to speak up. I got to start where I'm at. I didn't think about trying to reach 1,000. You know what I did? I said, man, my neighbor is in his late 50s. We know each other, but he don't know me. We know of each other, but he don't know me. So before I go over there and start cussing and yelling and throwing stuff in his yard, saying, look, America's been here because of you, right? That could have been a reality for me. I could have done that. I said, I'm going to write a letter to my neighbor, the person, Tom, that lives next door to me. And I'm going to tell him how America has a checklist for people that look like me. And in the case of a tragedy, my life may boil down to however you respond to somebody that looks like you. I told Tom that I have my own business. I get up at 4 a.m. to work on it. I told Tom that I love my wife and I do all of these things to serve her and to be a good father. I told Tom how I've never caused him a problem as a neighbor. I've told Tom how I'm not as good as him in the backyard. When he's in his backyard, he's planting and he's building baby trees and all of that stuff, right? When I'm in my backyard, I'm just playing with my swing like that. I told him that, right? And I said, Tom, you know this. When you see me, you know, you have an idea, okay, oh, he's not a threat. But I told him, I said, in the case of a casualty, I'm going to be boiled down to a black threat. In the case of a casualty, I'm going to be boiled down to a casualty. And I told him, I said, man, I need you to know that if something ever like that was to happen, I need you to speak up for me. Because you play a role in me coming back home safely. And can I be honest with y'all? I was shaking when I gave him the letter. Literally, my hands were shaking. I've never had to do anything like this, right? But because my life is not my own, I'm doing things and I'm making decisions that's uncomfortable for me. My hands are shaking as I give him the letter. And I say, hey, Tom, I don't know how you're going to receive this letter. I don't know where you stand. And guys, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not fabricating word for word. I said, I don't know how you're going to respond to this letter or where you stand, but I want you to know I wrote this letter in love. My neighbor, who's an old white man, said, then I'm going to receive it and respond in love. When I made it back to the back door of my house, I almost broke down. Because it's easy and it's so cliche to say, man, outlove hate and outlove hell and outlove race, right? None of those things are wrong, but it's quite humbling to see the power of love in action. If you look at the news, somebody that looked like me and somebody that looks like Tom, we're the problem of the chaos and the uproar. But in my backyard, the power of God is alive. So what do I mean? Y'all, I need y'all to start where you're at. Post the black frame on Instagram. Text your friends, do all of that, right? But there are people that's in your neighborhood, in your schools, in your community, on TikTok that look like you, that's condoning and echoing injustice. And you got a voice. Even if you reach one, you got a voice. I tell my wife this all the time. I say, right now, it's hard for me to have conversations with a lot of people. And I'm not being angry, I'm not mad, but here's a scenario I see. There's 700 people standing in a field, right? And they say, hey, if you don't want to be broke and you're going to work hard and you're going to take and you're going to live life with integrity, I want you to take a step to the left. Follow me. Everybody who truly wants to do that, they're going to take a step to the left because it's a second nature. It's a reaction. Of course I want to live above reproach. Of course I want to live with integrity. Boom. 600 people take that step to the left. And it's genuine. What scares me is that other 100. Because you've been delayed in your response, I don't know what's the motive of you taking that step to the left. I don't know if you're doing it because 600 people have done it. I don't know if you're doing it because you don't want to be left with the, oh, wow, you want to be poor. Oh, wow, you don't want to be financially literate. Like, who wants to be X'd out? So you take that step to the left to be safe and to hide behind numbers. So I say that to say this. Be genuine in your approach. Tonight, really ask God to search your heart. Ask yourself questions. Yeah, I have black friends. That's a safety net, right? Because you know they're not a threat. But those black friends, the people who look like my black friends that I don't know, if it came down to it, do I really love them? Or am I willing to love them? All of the people that's called me, they say, man, YB, what's the solution? I tell them like this. The solution is this. We have to be humble to know that we're going to need the other side to meet us in the middle. I could easily be angry. This live could look totally different. We got to be humble and say, okay, I need y'all to meet us in the middle. And the people who don't look like me, you guys got to be humble enough to know that you don't have the solution and that we're going to need God to get to that solution. That's the ultimatum for both. So it's going to take an act of God, right? That's the Christian answer. But you also have to take tangible steps, not just today, not while the hashtag is hot, not while it's cool to say, hey, I'm white and I'm behind my black brothers. I'm white and I'm behind the people who don't look like me. That's not going to be enough, because if we keep dragging our feet, it's going to happen again. I'm not saying that evil won't happen. Evil is going to continue to rear its face as we live here on earth, right? But when that evil comes, we'll be a better people. When that evil comes, our first reaction will look a whole lot more like Jesus and less like burning down a building or running people over. We can't stop evil. You can't. That's why evil is the way it is. Evil has no limit. It has no cap. But that does not mean that as we go through this finery to look more like Jesus, we can't take steps to look like him in the way we talk, in the way we act, in the way we joke, in the things we do in private. Those are the things that's literally going to be the needle movers for us. Because it's easy for it to say, well, I'm going to go downtown, I'm going to post this picture with my fist up, because I can get some clout being white, right? But I'm not having no tough conversations. I'm not calling nobody. That's hard. That's challenging for me. No, that's an inconvenience for me. I'm not doing that. But I'm going to be downtown and I'm going to take this picture and I'm going to post it with whatever hashtag black people want me to put. And I'm going to do that until this stuff passes over. And nothing never changes here. This is where everything is going to, when that heart change, the things of God overflow. But we have to start there. I want to close. I didn't want to go too long and drag it out. But I can't have y'all listen to my music and come to my concerts and be a supporter of me, right? But when y'all need a voice, when y'all need leadership, I shy away and say, well, I'm not going to say that. What if I lose streams? I'm not going to say nothing about black people. What if they unfollow me and I never get them verified on Instagram? I could care less about all of that. When people start to lose their life, when the things become nothing that looks like God, oh no, I got to step up. And I need you to understand this. You got that same responsibility. I'm not in control, but I am in control of what God has put before me. I've had talks with my wife. I'm in control of that. I can talk to my neighbor. I'm in control of that. I can pray and seek God before I get on the live and go ballistic. I'm in control of that. Right? And I need y'all to understand that you guys have the same responsibility. So, Galatians 2, and I love this. I didn't, as I was preparing for it, I was like, God could give me the words, but I didn't even realize the title says, Dealing with Offenders. It says, share each other burdens. This. As I read this, I want y'all to know this is straight out the Bible. This is not all straight out the Bible. Share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. If you think you are too important to help someone, you're only fooling yourself. I love Paul. He says you are not that important. No, I'm not laughing because I'm being insensitive to it, but just Paul, he's funny to me. He says, man, if you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourself. You are not that important. And to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, we're not. All of this boils down to what God desires. God desires justice for black people, white people, brown people, in-shape people, verified people, right? God is love. And you can't put that in some type of other vehicle for your own narrative or for your own benefit. Connor, that was Galatians chapter 6. Oh, I didn't even tell you, I'm sorry. Galatians chapter 6, verse 2 through 2 and 3. But soldiers, I love y'all, man. I need God just like y'all. I'm going back to my prayer closet tonight just like y'all. Some things, man, that you could do, to wrap it up, is to call people who don't look like you, right? Be genuine in your approach. Don't come with solutions. And listen, right? You start there. Then call people who look like you and challenge them. Now, don't go thumping them with the Bible, but genuinely ask them, hey, man, has there been some things in my life where, man, I've done some things that, man, I could have been a part of this problem had the light been on my life. Soldiers, I love y'all. Don't be discouraged. I know my tone is low. I'm tired, right? But man, God has been working wonders. Though I've had some tough conversations, I've had some very encouraging conversations. I've had some people step up to the plate in very positive ways, right? In Christ-like ways, not to be positive, in very Christ-like ways. I have grown in this. Like, I've come to a deeper understanding. My marriage has been impacted by this in a Christ-like way. So don't be discouraged just because you see evil. Hey, remember how bad it was when they took Jesus in. They didn't even know that it would only take 3 days for God to do what he originally had planned. So be encouraged. Play your part. Soldiers, I love y'all. I thank y'all. And hey, we speak up. We're cut different. We live different. Love you, soldiers. Oh, YouTube. I'm sorry, man. I never really even checked in with y'all as far as eye-to-eye contact. But I guess to be fair, I'll give y'all a little screen time, man. Man, since this stuff has kicked off, man, it's been heavy for me. Like, it's been heavy. But just because it's been heavy, that don't mean that, I can shy away from what God is calling me to do, And I pray that you guys were encouraged in this. I pray that, man, you heard God and not YB, right? But don't let it stop at a post. Don't let it stop at a DM or a text. Like, we each have a role to play. And we got to step up to that plate because other people's lives depend on it. Soldiers, I love y'all. I'm finna go love on my wife. You know, spend time with her, hang out with her. She's cooking right now, and I'm very hungry. So I love y'all, soldiers. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I'll see y'all very soon.